Hello Channel NITT viewers, welcome to a new episode on Channel NITT. In this episode, I am going to share with my viewers how I deduce a person's MBTI type. So this person can be somebody that I know, or it could be a virtual stranger that I see on screen. So it is by no means the only method in which I use to deduce an MBTI type. So I also know that there are a lot of other profilers. You may use a different method, but this is the method that I use as a very quick assessment. So with enough experience, I'm sure you will also be quite accurate in deducing a person's MBTI type. So as I have mentioned in my other videos, including that of episode 21, before you can deduce a person's MBTI type, you have to first know what the cognitive stacks are. So we will dedicate one episode in the future on the cognitive stacks itself, so viewers will be able to understand what each cognitive stack is. But for this episode, we will focus on how I deduce a person's MBTI type using cognitive stacks. So if this is the first time you're watching our video, welcome. So we also do videos on parenting, on psychological principles, and on YouTube. So do check out our other videos as well. And if you like what you see, do subscribe and comment. So I'm going to explain now how I usually type a person. This is not the only method that I use, but I find this method very efficient. So the first question that I ask is this person a Jtype or a Ptype? So as explained in my other video, the basics of MBTI, the Jtype person tends to be conscientious. They usually work before they play, they are punctual, and they do what they say, they do what they say they will do, usually. Conversely, on the other hand, the P-type of person tends to have a lesser sense of urgency. They might have borrowed money from you. Usually they do not return the money that you have lent them or anything that you have lent them. They tend to be spontaneous. Now, talking back about the part where you lend them money, so usually my experience with the P-type is they cannot remember, but this need not be a deliberate attempt. Sometimes they may really be very forgetful. Okay. Besides being spontaneous, the P-type of person also do not tend to reply messages and texts consistently. So there are also some physical characteristics of J and P-type. So I find that P-type, because some P-types they have SE, they are SE users, so they are more likely to experience new things. So you might see that smokers, drug abusers, people with tattoos, they tend to be P-type. Not because of anything, but because they have SE. So I must stop here for a moment because I think I must have made a lot of P-type people very angry. The P-type people might be saying, are you calling us drug addicts? Are you calling us losers or something like that? Yeah? No, I'm not saying that. Okay. So I must have made a lot of P-type people very angry at this point in time. They must be saying, are you calling us drug addicts? Are you calling us losers that we don't return money and such? No, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that if there is such a person that fits that category of people who do not return money, or a person whom the police has arrested for taking drugs, and this person is tested for MBTI, this person is more likely than ever, the probability is much higher that he belongs to a P-type. That I can surely attest because I'm a before. In fact, there is nothing wrong with P-types. A lot of P-types are very mature. Well, I will dedicate one episode just comparing the J and the P in the future, because incidentally the P type of personality, they use SE, which really like to experience new things. So sometimes it is inadvertent that they might get themselves into trouble. And then some of them also use FI, which is like, I think about myself, I only want myself to be happy first, that kind of attitude. And some of the P-type may have NE, where they are all over the place. So they might miss out on a call, they might miss out on a text, they might forget that they have actually borrowed something from you. So all these traits I'm not saying that they are just lower functions, it's just that these traits cause the P-types to be like that. So we have a discussion of that in one of our later episodes. But at this point in time, I just want to say that I have seen a lot of P-type people, they are very successful actually. So I am not saying that the P-type are not going to be successful at all. I have seen so many people who are P-type that live in condos, private houses. Okay. That they live in condos, private houses. They are very successful. If you would like to know what this successful P-type of individuals actually work as in Singapore, then watch the other episode on MBTI. So I'm going to make one on the J versus P dichotomy, okay? So after having asked this question of whether this person is a J-type or P-type, suppose this person I have decided is a J-type, I will now ask, does this person use TE or does this person use FE? Because if you are a J-type, you must have an extroverted function. So you must either have extroverted thinking or extroverted feeling. So we will have an episode on how I decide if somebody uses TE or FE so that I can further profile this person. After having decided on the extroverted function of this J-type, I will then ask, what is the introverted function of this J-type? Is it NI, which is introverted intuition, or is it SI, introverted sensing? Similarly, if I have decided that this person is a P-type, I will first try to understand or try to figure out what the extroverted function of this P-type is. So, a P-type of person has either got NE, extroverted intuition, or SE, extroverted sensing as part of their extroverted function. So the P-type will also has an introverted function. So it's either FI or TI. FI is introverted feeling, TI is introverted thinking. So I will have to figure all these little elements out. And the next thing I will do is to figure out which is the pilot and which is the co-pilot. So the pilot will be the dominant function and the co-pilot will be the auxiliary function. In order for me to deduce the pilot and the co-pilot, one of the questions that I may ask is this person extroverted or introverted? So if this person is an extrovert, then his pilot must be an extroverted function. If this person is an introvert, then his pilot must be an introverted function. And from there, I will deduce the MBTI type. So just to give you an example, so suppose I have a new employee in my company. His name is John, and John is punctual, accountable, and has backup plans. So I've been observing John for 3 months already, and he has consistently shown such behavior. So I deduce that he must be a J-type. So now I will figure out John's extroverted function. So in this case, I find that John usually has a very logical flow of thought. He sometimes is also very blunt. I deduce that he has TE as an extroverted function. However, John prefers rules. He needs rules in order to function well. He is also a very traditional type of person. Generally, he doesn't try to come up with new ideas, and from there I can deduce that John's introverted function should be SI, introverted sensing. Next, because I've actually figured out that John has TE and John has SI, being an TE and SI user, John can either be ESTJ or he can also be an ISTJ. So now I have to figure out whether John is an introvert or an extrovert. So as a very quick guide, if you are an extroverted J-type, these are the following combinations that are possible. So you can refer to this chart. So all I need to do is just to figure out whether you have FE or you use TE, and whether you use NI and whether you use SI instead. So you come up with these 4 different combinations. Similarly, the introverted J-types, the introverted judges, their pilot will always be the introverted function first. followed by the extroverted function. And we have the extroverted P types. So being an extrovert, it means that your pilot must be either NE or SE. So the E is always in front, followed by the introverted function. So I need to figure out whether they have NE or SE. I need to figure out whether they have FI or TI. So after I figure out all these different combinations, then I will deduce that they must be one of these MBTI groups, if I have actually started off believing that they are a P-type, okay, and an extrovert for that matter. So this is the last chart. We have introverted P-types, the introverted perceivers. So the logic goes the same way. The introverted perceivers, because they are introverts, their introverted function, either FI or TI, must come first, followed by the extroverted function, which is NE and SE. So as long as I have figured out which comes first, and which is the introverted function, and which comes later, and which is the extroverted function, then I will be able to deduce very quickly the MBTI type of this person. However, of course, this is not a foolproof method. We still have to look at whether this person has inferior functions that are actually very obvious, very salient. But I would say that this itself is a very quick guide. If you try this method long enough, like for myself, I've actually been profiling for how long? Wow, 11 years? More than that. Okay, so you will become more and more accurate. So I hope this can serve as a very quick guide for beginners and for some of you who are interested. And this MBTI episode will form the basis of a few of the later episodes that I'm going to make on how I deduce certain people's MBTI types. I hope this episode has value added to you. If you like what we are doing, do subscribe if you have not subscribed, and remember to turn on that notification button. How do you find my method of profiling? Do comment below. If you have your own personal method of profiling that is slightly different from mine, do comment below as well so that we can share. If you want me to talk a little bit more about your MBTI type, also comment below. So we are going to have a lot more exciting episodes ahead of us in season 3. Okay, we look forward to that. So we look forward to your continual support. I will see you again in our next episode. Goodbye.